Coming up on this episode of Corvus Luth Radio.
Kill me again, Mr. Bartender, please!
Okay, time to make a scarf joint. All you need is a straight piece of wood. Find the right angle that you need the headstock to be at. After cutting it, you just flip it. This is one of the two ways to do it. The other way, the angle would be on the headstock itself. I wanted the fretboard to be on top, just to strengthen it some more. Now some nice sawing there, nice saw work. Flip the work to get to the other side. Flip yourself to get to the other side too. Make cutting more comfortably. And with the magic of editing, in just a moment, all done. Carefully take it out of your vise and see what you got. And flip. Scarf joint complete. Next you're going to need to take a plane, smooth out all those saw marks so you get a nice glued surface. Nice flat surface for gluing. Beautiful. By having the two pieces stacked, you get the same angle on both pieces while planing. Here I'm measuring for some screws that I'm going to put in while gluing up to keep it from wiggling around. I just measure off the center line to an empty space away from the neck, where the neck would be. This would be scrap that would be cut away later. Sand those burrs down, that way you get a nice clean surface. And double check before you glue it all up that you have everything in the right position. That was actually... Okay, now that the scarf is all glued up, go ahead and cut off the excess pieces. I know it looks like I'm taking a lot off, but that was a big blank. I can use that for doing something else. And I'm still giving myself lots of playroom. Okay, oh, that's the little pin that I use to keep it from sliding. Now here, finding the center line, the most important part of any guitar build. And there's my template that I made. I'm going to get ready to route the shape of that neck out there. That's just giving me something to line it up with later. And here I'm going to take some super glue and masking tape to get the template to stick to the blank there. Something that I've learned from somebody. Wait a second. I forgot something. Oh, that was close. I need to get that truss rod in there. And it'll be easier to route it when everything's nice and straight. And I lost the video from me routing that thing out, but it's easy. You just put a router on there, slide it back and forth to get the right size. But these graphite stiffening rods, they have to be put in there too, so I might as well show you how that's done. I just kind of guessed to where they're going to go, halfway between the side of the neck and the truss rod. And now to find the depth, if you've never used a router before, or even if you have and you didn't know about how a depth stop works, take your bit, put it all the way down to the bottom of the wood so it's touching the wood, and then whatever you need to dig out, put it in between that stop like that. And now your bit will only go that far down. Now make sure everything's nice and lined up. And give it a go. Oh, I'm still tightening. Get yourself in the right position. Take it nice and slow. This bit is a tiny little 3mm bit. So I had to go really slow with it. If you don't own a router, I like Bosch, but don't go for the cheapest Bosch. You have to actually forcibly push it down. there's no way to wind it down incrementally. You have to use force. And if those pistons get clogged up with sawdust, you have to push pretty hard. So if you're ever in the market for buying a router, spend a little bit more money and get one that you can wind down with a hand crank or whatever. There, clean it out and copy and paste the other side. Now I'm going to use super glue to glue these things in there. I've seen it done before. I guess that'd be the best way to have them down in there. You don't want them loose, rattling around in there. And now, super glue and masking tape trick. I don't know who taught me this. I learned it somewhere, probably on YouTube. I reckon the guy's got tattooed head. But it's an amazing trick. You just put down some masking tape on one side, and you're going to need to put masking tape on the template itself. Make sure you flatten that down with something smooth. I usually use the bottle of glue itself. And then you put down masking tape on the template. Put super glue on one side and kicker on the other. Now I usually put super glue on the side that would have the actual piece that I'm working with, because that kicker is going to spray everywhere. I really don't know if it's going to damage the wood, or it won't damage the wood, but I just don't want the residue on the wood if I need to put super glue on it. You know, keep it clean. Now I've already marked out a center point on the blank itself that would line up with the template, so I know I'm putting it in the right position. I checked that actually like 3 or 4 times before I even get ready to glue this down. So it's not just slapping it on there in a whim. It's, yeah. Now the thing will stay there until you pull it off. I've never had anything pop off using this routine. Now I'm just using a flush trim bit. Is that what it's called? It's got a bearing on it, riding along that template, and just taking my time to go around that blank. There, and pop it off. Nice and clean. Pull up the tape. Some people like using double-sided tape. The double-sided tape we have here in Iceland, I haven't found anything that's good enough to use. I even glued that down too. Now I'll just flip this thing over and hit it with the router on this side too. There's the scarf joint. Everything nice and smooth. Okay, time to get the machine head put together. This is the king's wood plate that would go on there. I just wanted to get the thickness of it. We're going to take off from the back of this neck plate here. And make sure you measure it really good. I use the thickness of the tuners plus the thickness of that head veneer. Is that what it's called? Head plate veneer. And yes, take your time. If you have a bandsaw, use it. If you don't, use your hand tools. They work just as fine. This only took me like 5 minutes. And yeah, it looks rough, but you know, a bandsaw will make it rough too. It'll be easily cleaned up later. There I am, with a rasp. Flip it over. Keep it nice and flat. Hey, look at that old plane. VintageToolshop.com. Now I'm going to put some red veneer in. Okay, time to make a fingerboard. Got your flame maple and a karate chop, and it's perfectly sliced. And I've went ahead with the right tools. I've marked out for the frets upside down, and I've also scratched it in. It's not cut, they're just marked. But now we have to put in the markers, 3, 5, 7, 9, 12, yada yada yada. But we're not using dots, we're going to use strips of wood from this king's wood. Just like that. and it'll look something like this. The Duke and Ash that I'm making for my stepson. It's pretty cool. There's your 12th. And carefully mark onto the wood where each strip is going to be cut out. This stuff will be inlaid into the fretboard itself. Using a table saw sled, you just cut out just as much wood as you need. And as you can see, it might not be enough. That's going to come back and bite me in the ass later. Don't be in a rush. Make sure everything's perfect. Don't be in a rush. Make sure everything's perfect before you slide it across there. Always remember safety. I am wearing safety goggles. This is the jig I use for carving with chisel. Oh, it's done. No, measure out each piece perfectly. I mean, it's inlaying. If you've ever done inlaying work, you know what this is like. I don't like inlaying work, but I just need more practice. Cutting each piece separately, measuring each piece. Measure, measure, cut, measure, cut, measure, cut. And then I'll sand it down until it fits perfectly. Each piece. See? And it's all glued up, and now I'm routing it so it fits the blank, the neck blank. Or the neck now, it's no longer a blank, it's a neck. It's not glued down, it's just taped, super glued down. And I'm taking a few passes, trying to get all the excess off. And we skip forward to me cutting the bottom of the fretboard in this nice little shape. This shape I'm going to just go ahead and cut away and make it straight and flush at the, I think, 19th fret. I was planning on having 21 frets, I think, 21, 22. And I just didn't like the way that I was going to put binding on it. So this is just a filler? I don't know. Just a mistake. It's not a mistake. It's just a change in plans. This is my guitar, so it's fine. It's fine. It's all fine. I'm happy with it. You have to see the end. You have to just wait for it. Ah, you thought it was going to break off. Well, when doing work like this, take sandpaper and wrap it around a file. This is a half-round file, so there you go. Gives you that nice little shape. This just goes to show that plans change sometimes. This is just like a prototype. some routing for the neck binding. I'm using a recessed bit, a very small one, 5 millimeters tall, 1 millimeter deep. Maybe it's 1.5, I think. And give it a nice little recess for that binding to sit in. There it is, Camotillo type of rosewood. And like I promised, I'd cut the end of that fretboard off. I didn't like that design. Didn't like the thought of the binding. Super glue is going to be the weapon of choice for this because of that oily Camotillo. I didn't want to go with wood glue on this. It seems to be holding, so yay for me. Masking tape, masking tape, masking tape. My homemade binding binder. Light bulb inside of an aluminum pipe. Works really good. Works good on binding and ukulele sides. I haven't tried anything bigger than that. It made it purple. It's pretty neat, the oils from that Camotillo. Nice gentle fine cuts. And that one's ready to glue in. Here it is, more masking tape. I know I'm bending the masking tape backwards, but it made a good fit, so I should have went down so it would push it down into the recess. But like I said, it fit good. The bend was good. And that little space in between, right where the nut is, I'll fill that in later. So if anybody has OCD, don't freak out. Very light passes with the Shinto rasp to get rid of that excess. And any places there's cracks, spaces in between, a little bit of super glue and rubbing some sawdust in there. Fills it right up. And scraping. I've had to scrape everything on this guitar because of that Camotillo. Camotillo and maple does not mix good. They do not make good bedfellows. But I've really enjoyed scraping. Well, there we go. Need a little bit more touching up in these inlays. But looking really good. I want to put something right here. Some sort of an inlay in between the tuners. I just don't know what to put. I want something really unique. What could I use?
Kill me again, Mr. Bartender, please. I need a shot and I'm begging on my knees. The way to fight is one battle at a time. You may have won today, but I'll see you at the finish line. All is fair in love and war. You pull no brakes when you're riding to the core.
There we go. I got it. A piece of lava that I'm going to inlay in here. I just don't know how to do it. Whether if I wanted to slice it real thin and put it in there, or drill a hole all the way through with some sort of pretty design and fill it with epoxy with a little piece of this in it. What do you think?